And you know, that's the reason why I'm prepared. I wasn't prepared to make a direct grant, I have to tell you that. But the way in which it's presented here, it actually presents the opportunity now. Part of the ORAFA discussion has been that the community lifeline, by way of a levy every year, does in fact disincentivise the raising of funds. Now, the Westpac Helicopter Trust has not been constrained by that at all. They have continued to raise funds well beyond anyone else, and it's been one of the reasons why I have been supportive of them. So I don't see this as an open and shut checkbook case. I see this as an underwrite if all else fails, and they have proven themselves to be able to fundraise extremely well.
But Mr Mayor, what may seem to be a realistic comment from Councillor Darby may not necessarily be helpful to the council. We really want this to be an underwrite and for them to carry on with their pretty effective fundraising. And this is a measure of last resort rather than a first resort. So no, we're not saying grant, we are saying underwrite, and that means something, or well, should do.
Mr Mayor, if maybe there's a way to, because I hear what you're saying, but it's probably not reflected in that resolution, so it really needs to be tightened up with our expectation, which seems to be strong around this table, that there is an expectation that it won't be called upon.
Well, that's not an underwrite then.
That's right.
Says the underwrite would be
well, that's what you. That's what you're.
That's the rhetoric. To the other.
That's the rhetoric.
We're going from one extreme to the other. I think underwrite
Mr. Chairman,
is the right word.
Yeah. Alistair, would you like to say something?
I think it's probably worth noting. I've checked with the Rescue Helicopter Trust as to their anticipated fundraising totals that they will have achieved by the time that they want to take delivery of the helicopter. And including the 900,000 which this council has already undertaken to provide, they expect to have in the order of $12.4 million to go towards the purchase. At this time, the estimated purchase price is $15 million, subject of course to exchange rate fluctuations. There's a projected shortfall of in the order of $2.5, $2.6 million. That is a forecast. The Rescue Helicopter Trust finds it inherently difficult to accurately forecast that far in advance because they're so dependent on the generosity of the public for fundraising and also bequests. Unfortunately, they can't control the rate at which their donors may pass on. So they are unable to accurately say how much they will have, but it looks likely that there would be a shortfall which would require all of that 450,000.
Okay. Ross, Councillor Ross.
Yeah, just the thing that they didn't highlight very much, and I would suggest they're still not highlighting, is the fact that they intend to then sell the old helicopter within 6 months afterwards, and they will get 2 or 3 million from what was indicated. Up to $3 million for that other helicopter.
I think the business case states $1.5 to $2 million, but yes, there will be sale proceeds. So
the thing is, if we end up topping up to pay for it, and then 6 months later they effectively sell it and get whatever they get, that then goes in immediately to start them building up for the next helicopter, and that's probably the thing. I'm not sure whether the business case can justify that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Could I suggest that the amendment be changed to include fundraising total, including the proceeds from the sale of any surplus helicopters, to address that point?
Yep, that would be fine.
Yep. Good spotting.
Right, that would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
In A, the difference between the fundraising target.
Councillor Bill.
Thank you, sir. Just, stating the absolute obvious that this service, just like Surf Lifesaving, is critical to the people of this city. And if you have the misfortune to have to use it, it's life-saving, and it's one of those things that people expect you to front up for as a public body. It may be a grant, it may not, but what we are doing is giving the trust certainty that they can move forward, and that's important. And at the end of the day, it is a grant. Well, I'm not going to lose too much sweat about that, but they need to be, and they obviously will be encouraged to raise those funds. the big variables going forward are going to be the second-hand value of those choppers, which is falling quite a bit at the moment, and the exchange rate movements, which might actually be working in their favour. So, to me, this is just, we just need to do this. It's an essential public service for this city.
And you'll be able to go down and touch the thing, you'll know where the money went,
Had a helicopter.
unlike some of our stuff.
Actually, just a final comment, councillors, because I don't want this to go on all day. I mean, you know, we've trodden some very familiar ground on this issue. We have shown a lot of generosity to the other people who look after our communities, and that is Surf Lifesavers. So I just think that, and both of them tap into the same public fund. Both can get operational funding from Arafa. And so, look, deal with that as you will, councillors. Let's call this and get on with it. So I'll move it. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
Passed. Rightio. So let's move to next one is Glenfern Sanctuary. Michael, Councillor Mike, what's this?
Yes, Mr Mayor. This relates to decisions taken by the Councillor Fletcher's committee, Parks, Recreation and Sport last year, and also the Great Barrier Local Board to assist in the acquisition of Glenfern Sanctuary. The government, represented by Minister of Conservation Maggie Barry, has joined in on this proposal. The government, through the Nature Heritage Fund, made an initial allocation, and at the request of the Minister of the Nature Heritage Fund, came back and increased that grant to just under 1 million, and the Minister announced that last month. The concern is from the Great Barrier Local Board in particular that the way the council finances will work is that this commitment will disappear because of the negotiations will drag on after the end of the financial year. A commitment has been made by the local board and by the council, and that commitment should be honoured, especially now on the basis of that commitment the government has joined in and supported it. To risk losing that money because of some financial technicality or savings or whatever it is would be an unfortunate act on behalf, without taking in the consequences of this council. So that motion there is not for any extra funding, just to confirm what's already been allocated and make sure it stays available.
Is that correct?
Is that bringing it forward?
No.
Rolling it over.
Oh, rolling it over, right.
Through you, Your Worship. So the situation we're in is that the Great Barrier Local Board made a commitment of $200,000. They drew that funding from funding that was left over for another project. So effectively, that will disappear as part of the accounting process over the next financial year. So the Great Barrier Local Board will need to look to their capital fund in order to provide this sort of funding in the future, or if, as Councillor has outlined, then the governing body can make a decision to provide that extra 200,000. But currently, it won't exist in next year's budget.
Eddie?
Well, the only thing I'd say is just so really simple. Either the governing body says you're good for $200,000, or you can ask Great Barrier, like a number of other boards, that they be good for $200,000. It's that simple.
We could have got that money.
Hang on. So we've got a new capital fund going to Great Barrier there, Mike?
Yep.
So we got a $10 million fund that we've approved, and I wonder whether or not they'd like to use their first year's worth, which is probably going to be about 200,000 to do this.
Oh, okay.
Mike?
I think that's an option.
Councillor Mike?
It's coming.
Yes, Mr Mayor, sorry.
Look, I'm just thinking pragmatically here, Mike, because you're basically asking for another 200,000. There is an option. I suspect probably once we get through the working out of what every board gets, that Great Barrier probably gets sort of 100, 200 odd thousand in new capital spend under the $10 million budget. Why don't we encourage them to just use that?
Well, they already made the commitment of it, 200,000. Now, where that has gone, I don't know, it's gone somewhere. If it's to be returned to them, that would be fine. They may say that that unlike the other boards, they're not getting anything extra at all. They've still had 200,000 taken off them, and they have to find another 200,000. They made that commitment almost on a contractual basis with the Government Nature Heritage Fund, the ASB, in good faith, and apparently without any knowledge or consultation with that decision-making body, which made a proper and legal decision, money disappeared somewhere. And all we're asking for is that wherever it's gone, no questions are going to be asked, but make sure it just pops out on the other side when the government and the ASB asks for our commitment.
I don't even think we need a recommendation, actually, Michael, because the biggest and most intense discussion at the end of the draft round was the loss of a significant amount of capital work for the boards, and we put a good part of that back in under the LDI budget. It's 1%, $14 million worth of capital spend, in effect. So I suspect it's sitting in amongst there. I think that we must be able to find where this is and ensure it rolls over as a part of the LDI work. Got to be there. Please, Ian?
I agree with you.
Good, excellent.
Good.
Is that okay for you? Yes. Sounds good.
Is a
Point of order,
question,
Mr Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
Can
What's the
Councillor
point of
Fletcher would
order?
like to second this? I'm quite happy for us to swap.
I don't think we're going to end up with an amendment at this
Oh,
time.
no, we're going to get it sorted out as a sidebar, because there's LDI budgets that seems to have got lost in there, in the discussion with the boards around capital.
Can we just put it there though, but then it formalises what this committee is asking for, what the council is asking for, to make sure there's no more argument over this or lack of clarity.
Mr.
We will find it.
We could find
Mr Chairman, I think a way that we can move this forward, in light of what you have actually just traversed, Councillor Lee is quite right to bring this before this committee, because this is the very model that we're looking for
Yes, we know.
to leverage out into
Yep.
the future. I think that because it falls then, on the basis of your explanation, it falls inside the delegations of the Parks, Community and Lifestyle Committee, I can undertake to take this matter to Parks with Ian.
Yes.
And that
Report
we
back.
can have the confirmation of that there inside those delegations, if it will give Councillor Lee some comfort.
Yep.
So I'll undertake to do that next week.
An excellent undertaking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, the next matter, thank you,
Can
Councillor
I just
Mike.
have a question on that,
Well,
Mr
can
Chairman?
we, should we not vote on it?
Oh, sorry.
It's
how
going
many
back to her
times?
committee.
No, we're not.
It's been deferred to her committee.
That includes the Great Barrier Grant.
Yeah, it's going to be, thank you. Councillor Linda?
Sorry, just a question. So I would have thought that if all of these things were in this last year's budget, we'd gone back to, we weren't carrying things forward. So it's been taken, so this new LTP has been predicated on those not being in the budget. Is that right?
It is a part of the LDI discussion.
Through
We're trying to track down
through you,
where it
Worship,
is.
so that each local board
I'm not
has
talking
available.
about that one. I'm talking about the $1 million for council funding, Mr Chairman.
Oh,
Perhaps Rob can answer that.
So at the moment, the $1 million is coming out of regional park acquisition budget, which exists in this financial year. That regional park acquisition budget doesn't exist in the 15 LTP,
what I'm
but there are acquisition budgets within the 15 LTP. So we would look to meet that
So
commitment
does
from
that
those
mean the
budgets.
current list of proposed acquisitions, something would have to come out?
well, it's going to be a decision over here.
So existing approved acquisitions will continue as an approved program within the budgets that are in the 15 LTP.
Yes, but you would add, look like you'd add something else
So
in.
through you, Worship, effectively what would occur is that If there was a proposal to purchase next year, it would need to be pushed out beyond. So we have a certain amount available next year, and if this goes into it, then that will take away part of that.
Thank you. And
So
Mr.
it
Chairman,
comes- it
Mr.
comes
Chairman,
to
hang on, gosh.
Okay, as long as
So-
I don't have to do
Oh,
the
gosh,
explaining
no,
with
no.
Maggie if something goes wrong, gentlemen.
Yes, you do have to explain
I
to your
can Maggie.
community.
You
Just
too.
like we all do. Mr. Chairman, so I'd support the use of the new budget that you've put for the Great Barrier, because we haven't been able to raise any other funds from Great Barrier because we've pulled back on every other option where they're quite heavily subsidised, so there's nothing else to pull it from. So I think that's a really good idea.
I think
Pull
that
back
there
on
is
the
a
rubbish
trade.
levy, we've pulled
They've
back
just
on
had their
spending.
death tax put up to $2,000 per death.
Death by $1,000.
They need us
I
keep
want to
them
leave it
alive.
in the very capable
fit.
hands of Councillor Christine Fletcher, and I'm sure that she'll work it out.
I should be Solomon.
Yeah, excellent. And I don't think we need to have any more comment about it. But I do want to have a comment about Meadowbank Centre. Now, Councillor Cam has,
Voted against everything today.
yes, he
Oh,
has,
rubbish. I've supported several things.
wants to find more savings everywhere, but also
Supported
wants us to
Councillor
find some
Cashmore.
money. So now we get the ask.
Well, thank you.
Hang on. So, Councillor Cam, let's have a look. Here it is here. To bring forward the upgrade, okay, now, there's another side to this story. Yeah, there is an upgrade, which is capital work, and so that's a separate issue. The real issue, of course, is the operational expense that goes with it. And I would only be prepared to support what Councillor Brewer is saying on the basis that the local board would find that operational cost within their LDI and their own budget.
That's what's happening.
Which amounts to how much?
I think bringing it forward,
I'm sorry, we don't
Hang
have
on.
we don't have that
I'm asking a
operational
question.
information.
I have that technical information, sir.
Micromanaging again,
250 to
Suggesting you're high
300,000.
maintenance in your
Two,
operational
250 to
budget.
300,000, okay. And look, I mean, Councillor Close sitting over there, and you know, I think he's done a very good job in terms of bringing together money streams on one or two key projects in his ward, and there's something of a model there. And I think this is an opportunity to do that same model, and Ōrākia is the perfect ward to follow in behind. Councillor Brewer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And I hear what you're saying as far as, and it dovetails into the previous item as far as using that LDI to fund some of the, well, to fund the consequential OPEX to bring it forward. But I suppose what I'm arguing here is that this is just honouring a previous resolution where we agreed that it would happen in 2016-17, and that's what we agreed in the last LTP, and I every year tried to bring it into the immediate financial year, but nonetheless, just as we're getting closer to 2017, it's now been pushed back to 2021. And so we agreed unanimously in 2012, with you seconding it, Mayor Brown, that it would happen in that financial year 16-17, and that we also noted that it was officer supported, and that it would reduce, by getting on with this, it would reduce the maintenance and repair work that's been ongoing. So this is something that I have tried to bring forward for the last 4 years, and just as we get to where it actually was, it's been pushed back. And as the Ōrākia Local Board, led by Desley Simpson, has well articulated over a number of years, and with their deputation to us a few weeks back, this is their number one priority. This is a sub-regional facility, I think she was saying, where the numbers come from, a lot from Mangakiki, Tamaki, for example. And what they are asking here is if they are to carry all the consequential OPEX of moving it from 2021 to 2016-17, it will, from the figures I've seen, compounded about 1.5 up to 1.5 million. And so for a $3 million project, it seems a huge burden on a local board. And so this, I believe, is something that the governing body agreed to in good faith. I've been opportunistically pushing it ever since, but just now that we get to 16-17, and again, it's not this 15-16 year, so it won't have any impact on that 2.5% cap, Mr. Mayor.